Right, and what's up, guys? So we've got the new April 11th Forbidden and Limited list, so we're going to take a look through it right now. Got my good pal Anthony and Ryan here to analyse each individual card, and we'll give our thoughts on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to just do the band stuff first?
You'll have to go through because I haven't even got it up yet.
Yeah, I've got it, don't worry. We've got Damage Juggler and Performance Push Fire, both banned still, which is irrelevant. So there was the adjusted list.
Yeah, we don't need to adjust this stuff.
Ptolemaeus was banned. Chicken Game ban's the first big one. What were thoughts on that?
It's just stop FTK, really. Consistency decks, it's kind of irrelevant.
I'm kind of disappointed about it, actually, because they've hit it instead of actually hitting the problem cards.
I agree with that. I guess it's like Konami, because to put Upstart at 1 as well. They want to actually make a player 40 card, like 40 relevant cards, then just 9 cards to say draw a card.
Yeah. The other thing I really don't like about it is it actually hits decks that rely on field spells, because a lot of field spells aren't like Dragon Ravine, where you can just activate another field spell and get value out of it.
Yeah.
So, say you're playing Magispectors or Magicians or something like that. Their field spells, if you have 2 field spells in your hand at the same time, or you have a field spell in the Terraforming, you're actually losing value, because you can't have it another. You've basically just gone -1 for having that. So Chicken Game is actually
where the deck building thing comes in, though, isn't it? Where you want to maximise your ratio so that situation doesn't occur.
Yeah, but Chicken
Whereas
Game was
Chicken Game's still just shrinking the size of your deck, so you don't have to play other cards.
Yeah, but Chicken Game was really helpful for those decks. There wasn't really another option, because, say, if you're playing Magispector, there's no alternative to playing 3 Majestic Pegasus now, or 3 Majestic Pegasus, 2 Terraforming, or whatever. Whereas before, you could get away with 1 Majestic Pegasus, 3 Terraforming, 3 Chicken Game, or whatever, and you get the same ratio Majestic Pegasus draws, but you'd still be able to get to the card. You could still get the card, but you wouldn't ever draw mobiles. And the same with Magicians as well, which is probably not so much of a an issue, but it might be relevant in the future with Performer Power Odd Eyes.
It's definitely ruined my Cyframe deck.
Yeah. So you make difference in Cyframes as well.
So it just makes the field spell reliant decks a bit worse.
And it makes them more prone to playing the way they used to play. Where they have to fill that void. They can't just shorten the size of their deck.
Yeah, it's also a problem. Actually, as long as the deck the field spells don't work like Dragon Ravine, where you can just activate it and then activate the effect again. It will make them worse. Also, Ancient Fairy Dragon.
Oh, yeah, that makes
you can't get as much like the Ancient Fairy Dragon now.
Yeah, I used to go Chicken Game and Fairy it. I agree with that. Move on to arguably the biggest hit was Wavering Eyes banned.
Yeah.
It's sort of an overdone this, because it's like a consistency card for pendulums, but then it's just a complete blowout when you clear 3 or 4. So it's like sort of they could have made it more balanced.
Nick, you're static into fuck, mate, but I think if Wavering Eyes stopped at if its effect was destroy your scales and then get the effect for 1 or 2, that would have made it a fair card.
Yeah. Even
it's just the fact that it reboots itself, it isn't once per turn.
Oh no.
Sort of makes it way impossible to play through. And then with Damage Juggler banned, you can't exactly rely on something like a Rain Go to out in Wavering Eyes.
I think actually Wavering Eyes is probably... I think as an offensive card, it's probably what got it banned. It's not even just the fact that if you use it on 4, because if it didn't have the same utility as a card to set yourself up with, it probably wouldn't even be that good. But since there's 1 card scales in the game, and because that you get actual value out of destroying 2 cards on your own side of the field, Wavering Eyes just becomes over the top. It's not even just a case of it being a blowout in the mirror.
It's also stupid little things like non-target and banishment. Obviously, it's just stupid. And then the fact that it's a very skill-aligned card, though. Like, people obviously, you just flip it, win, but like, depending when you want to play and stuff like that can be very important.
I will say, I've always thought that Wavering Eyes should be on the same number of on the list as Damage Yugioh.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a fact.
Well, now they're together again.
So, back on pendulums, limited. We've got Luster, Monkey Board, and Joker still off the adjusted list. In this one, Wisdom Eye Magician to 1 as well. Is that just trying to kill off the good pendulum decks?
I think that's just preemptively hitting different variants of Draco Pal, to be honest.
Yeah, this is probably going to push.
I think that's just kill magicians as well. Like in the OCG, they pretty much saw no play with 1 Wisdom Eye.
Nick, I like how you trade you Magician Core on Wednesday.
Skillfully done.
I don't think the Wisdom Eye hit was that good. Like it probably shouldn't have happened, but it is preemptive to like where when we got the adjusted list, people did hop back on Magician very briefly, and then we're like, oh, Draco Pal's still good. Yeah. It makes sense. Another arguably irrelevant hit is Norden. Back to 1. Well, straight to 1.
I think it's pointless, really. Like, only good lists played 1 anyways, or none.
Yeah. I don't think
it's like a 1 card rank 4. There's not good enough rank 4s to justify it being broken, essentially.
I don't think the game's been slow enough to justify playing multiple Nordens since before Breakers of Shadows.
I mean, like,
because
Mermaid
never
played
going
2.
to resolve 2 infusions.
I think Mermaid was the only one that did play 2, because they would get so much value off an instant fusion on their turn 1, and then on their turn 2.
Yeah, but that's because it was a combo card as well.
Yeah,
Getting Dragoons out of it, really.
That's the point. They can't do it like turn 1 with a Bahamut or whatever, and then turn 2 with a Dweller. Even they'll probably just do a 2 Dweller now. The funny one on this list is Thousand Eyes Restrict to 1. How irrelevant is this?
I think Thousand Eyes Restrict is actually a pretty good card. Like, it makes fusion a Swiss Army knife, because you can do multiple things with 1 card. Because it can be spot removal for anything that can be targeted, and it can be a 1 card rank 4.
I guess that's true.
I personally think it's sort of not on the same level as Snatch Steal, but that point when it's going to steal games from people when it shouldn't really, but because it's only going to be brought by instant fusion, it's a lot more difficult to see the benefits of it.
The big thing about it is that you can't attack with 1,000 Eyes, and 1,000 Eyes stops you from attacking with any other monsters when it's on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be... I think it's purely going to be there for spot removal, unless you can have a random way to get rid of your 1,000 Eyes as well.
The only thing I think is decks that use synchro summons. You can use it to make you can just use it as a synchro material, especially for Formula Synchron, and it's kind of good that you can use it as spot removal in the middle of comboing off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if it's better than Norden in those decks though, so it's.
I know. It would literally just be a second option, because Norden will just be better.
Yeah.
The only synchro hit I think was Ignista to 1 as well. Just preempt.
Well, I mean that card, it's generic and it's basically generic, and it's just way too powerful.
I think Ignista's probably the best synchro in the game.
Yeah, definitely at this point, definitely.
Anything better.
It's just the fact
I don't know.
It extends combos. You've seen people summon last format just summoning 2 Ignistas on the first turn, not even caring. It's because it pushes through so many players, and then clearing your opponent's board effectively, destroying their scales. It's not really healthy.
One thing I've actually seen many people talk about with this card is you can't actually afford to use it to make rank X anymore. Because say you go first and you go and make your Ignista and then overlay it with it into a number 38. What happens if you're fully playing Cosmos?
Yeah,
it's a lot more.
You just lost the game if that's the case.
Do you think they'll just start playing I think List Story did play 3 Dynasty, but do you think that'll just happen anyway?
You have to play 3 Dynasty now, I think. If you're playing Pendulums, which I don't know whether you can really.
Well, a lot of the thing with Dynastar was it sort of helped to protect him through Wave Knights, which obviously isn't a problem. And it brought back monsters from the grave, which you would predominantly get off Ignista. And if you're using one Ignista, then Dynastar might be less relevant anyways.
Yeah. The other thing about this is that with, well, we'll probably talk about this in a second, but with the other hit with Draco Pass, which is probably the next one, Draco Face Off.
Yeah, might as well move straight on to that.
Yeah. Making it with you have to make. You've lost the access to Luster, because before you basically have 4 Lusters, because you've got 3 face off the Luster itself to draw. And
Pendulum Rising will be coming back into popularity.
Now in the structure deck, the Synchro deck, I'm thinking Pendulums actually. Yeah. In the Pendulum deck, you've lost access to the Ignista in the first place, so even that one, it's actually going to be more difficult to access without probably invest in deck space of Mass Chameleon.
I think the main thing about Face Off was that it always guaranteed a scale.
Yeah.
So you could set up, because obviously Pendulum Summons is that stupid. So if you hit your Luster, then obviously it's a bonus, whereas now you just sort of looking for the chances of drawing into it and then the chances of hitting well off it, and your opponent not having an out of that Luster anyways.
I think
so
this might
it's
be
a lot more fragile.
I think this might be a bit preemptive as well, actually, on top of it being good right now, because it's going to get even more nutty come Shining Victories, because Reckner Pendulum comes out.
Yeah.
It's that actually at that point it guarantees you a scale 3 or 5.
Yeah, like that. We were talking about this before the video started, is how you can use Face Off so like versatile in how it speeds up your players. I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh well, let's move on.
Alright,
I'll probably come back to it in a second.
Reasoning to 1.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of a slap on the wrist for Cosmo. It's not really for Inferno, if I'm being honest.
It's
but also to discourage stupid DMOC spam.
It's the like expected hit, I would say, because like Reasoning made Cosmo nutty. What the deck was playing Reasoning besides Inferno recently?
Monarch,
yeah. It just like seemed to be, as soon as a card gets really popular, like Reasoning, it'll go to 1. It's just an extra. It's a spell that literally says summon a monster 99% of the time.
Randomly splashable, like Super Quantum, stuff like that.
Yeah, like
I think everything was. Yeah, it seems like everything was kind of moving towards playing it. Yeah, so it's not really that much of a surprise. I think the Infinoids actually might be more relevant than most people have thought, because Left Arm Offering was coming out, and I think that deck with Left Arm Offering is pretty degenerate.
I saw a discussion about. There was a discussion about Left Arm Offering to like what cards it would search, and this was literally posted today. I'm going to have to find it. It was someone just talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, this card's pretty shit because for Reasoning's at 3." Now it's actually kind of relevant because Reasoning's at 1.
Well, to be fair, no, you don't even search Reason with it. You search Monster Gate. But the thing about it is that before Left Arm Offering give you 7 cards you can hit that were basically Reasoning.
Yeah.
Because you've got Monster Gate and you've got 3 Reasoning and then you've got the 3 Left Arm Offering. Now you've gone down to 5. So that means the increase in the consistency is pretty much negligible, really.
Well, speaking of consistency, we can go to Upstart Goblin to 1. Thought that'd be a cheesy way to get to.
Same as Chicken Game, really.
Yeah,
except this is a lot more general for any combo-based decks. Took a slight hit here.
It's not even combo-based decks. I think every deck really takes a bit of a hit, except maybe stuff like Burning Abyss, where you need the AK damage range.
Yeah, the thing is, so I sort of agree with the idea of that. Upstart stops you playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that you're supposed to have a 40-card deck.
Yeah.
So by reducing that down, it's sort of like messing with the fundamentals of the game, regardless of the fact that it's not a good card in the sense it doesn't do anything special. It's still sort of altering the game. And obviously the lightweight thing just made light equalizer.
One thing I found really funny was I bought Hoban's book, and one thing he said in his book was the majority of people are going to see 3 Upstart Goblin as stable. And literally weeks after that book came out, Upstart Goblin goes to 1. So I wonder if many people are going to be playing one Upstart Goblin. Now it's at 1 instead of the 3 they were playing before.
I think like he had the table in his book that when I was reading it off you that had the percentages, and there was maybe like a 4% difference, 4-5% or something like that difference between drawing like a 3 of in a 5 card hand at 40 cards to 37, whereas it's 40 to 39. So it's like that's maybe a percentage or two difference.
If you look at that around 16 round nats or something like that for America, then that's like taking up a big important part. So it is like generally changing the way the game is.
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, to be honest, actually, if you're really going to think about it, there's two kind of really big important things you have to think about when you're thinking about whether making the game less consistent is good or not. Because on one side, making the game less consistent actually favors weaker players, because if those upstart goblins can't be better cards some percentage of the time, then it's just going to make players who are better lose more because they're drawing weaker cards more often.
I agree with
But
that.
on the other hand, it makes it kind of makes the deck building a little bit better, because you have more. There's more options that you can put in your deck, and what was I going to say? It's actually just it makes the game slower, because the game shouldn't necessarily have to be compare your hands, see who's got the better hand. One player scoops and one player doesn't. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But you can, if the game is more involved, if there's more like options you can play, and you're forced to play bad cards more, then the games will be dragged out. There'll be more opportunities for interaction, and that can be a positive in a way.
I see what you're saying.
What we got next then?
Good second. We've got the semi-limiteds. This one's really irrelevant. It's Debris Dragon to 2. Should have been a 2 anyway, do you think?
Well,
We should be a 3.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not big enough.
You should be a.
And then another
It's
one.
got to the point where general synchros are just not enough anymore.
Yeah, I wish things were better. They were one of the more fun mechanics. It's better than just 2-4s exceed.
Yeah.
It's like where you had to literally, like to trish someone in plant, you had to, besides if you drew like Tengu 4 glow bulb, it's like something you just had to think about like doing.
Yeah.
The next hit, well, I say a hit, it's a rise. Allure of Darkness to 2.
This is actually really big.
Like,
I'm glad that they've actually hit consistently cards in the FDK deck before they brought this back, not like the OCG.
I'm quite happy with this. Like, Allure was like one of my favourite cards back in the day, so...
I think Allure is sort of a lot more fair than cards where sort of it's more general. It's just general dark monsters when something like Daedro, but it forces you to play a lot more carefully, whereas you can't just draw this plus a target, discard to get 2 new cards. You have to think about how you're playing the card. So that's like really a lot more helpful for improving the game in general.
Like, we've already been
And
talking
also it has interaction with stupid stuff like Cosmo. I'm not sure if it has importance with Monarchs, but then you get stuff like Destiny Heroes obviously going to play it. Burn Abyss can see a lot more speed through their deck now. So I think that's going to have like a very big sort of, not defining, but a big impact on how a lot of decks choose to shape up now, just because it's so like generally decent as opposed to amazing.
It's really interesting to me actually, because this card got limited in Teledad format, was it?
I think it got emergency hit to 2 and then went to 1 just after, I believe.
Because we've basically got nearly everything back from that format now, haven't we? Like,
Basically. Well, now we've got Teleport to 2, I think. I think Teleport was at 2 during that format as well.
I think it was at 3, but I think it wasn't necessarily played at 3.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like everything that format was actually kind of like a preview to the way like modern Yu-Gi-Oh is, and like Allure of Darkness was a real big deep draw card for that deck. And it's kind of interesting that at that point that deck was like the fastest deck in the format, and now probably wouldn't even match up with anything that we've got now.
Yeah, you look at a lot of cross-Banlist matches you see, it's sort of explosive, Teledad, but like, it's not on the same standard, and sort of Allure's sort of not helping for that.
It's just the fact back in the day.
I can understand why they brought it back.
Like back in the day, being able to set up your grid for Dark Armed over a turn and then dropping Dark Armed in the next turn was a really good thing. Whereas like now, you have to like, if you're even going to relevantly play a deck like that, you'd have to go a second, set up 3 Dark Armed grave, drop a couple of Dark Arms in a massive board and kill them that turn, or you're going to die because you didn't kill them the turn before.
Yeah, I certainly think. Oh, you go.
I think a big thing about Lure as well, the card quality is so much better now that sometimes you can't necessarily afford a Dark Monster out of your hand. Like before,
touching what I was saying earlier.
What, like Destiny or Doomlord, or so that's a big thing. And like in Burn the Abyss, sometimes if you're not playing like Big Beer, you're probably gonna have to lose a Burn the Abyss monster that you'd otherwise want.
I think it's kind of like
raw,
a lot more powerful than it was in Teledad format. If you look at, say, Banishing Dark Destroyers, how you have easier access to get all that stuff back. Did they have Dimension Fusion in Teledad format? I didn't play then, but I did it a lot. It was a lot more difficult to retrieve stuff then, whereas now we've got rank 3 decks, we've got Levier for Phantom Knight stuff or whatnot. It's a lot easier to recur these lost cards, so it's less problematic, but it's less sort of effective.
Phantom Knight really could benefit from that because of Levier.
One potentially funny thing is Necroface is at 2 as well. I've just realised.
Oh, it is.
With the new Pot of Greed spell card, that's going to be really stupid.
Yeah, Cupides.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. Teleporter 2, Cosmo's little tickle.
It's just sort of, it had to be hit because it's used in everything. Like, Ritual Beast, Cosmo, obviously, Super Quantum, stupid Synchro decks are playing it now.
Yeah.
Monarchs play it. It's just like too splashable.
It's instant Fury-based access as well with Recover, any level 4 Earth monster.
Yeah, it was even taking Clifford and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So a card that just got too popular too quick. Even with 2, do you think all those decks are still going to play it?
It's strange because sort of the card wasn't played for a long time, and then everything just sort of had it thrown in. So it's sort of like strange how that's changed over the last few years.
Lulea, Ghost Ogre, like there's been a lot more like level 3 LOI, like psychic monsters that are actually pretty decent, because before your options were basically Psychic Commander and Krebons.
Yeah. So then with Recover, we've got a level 1 Psychic Tuner now, so that's like more important than you think. Which I think is Recover light or dark.
It's Earth.
It's Earth, I think.
Oh wow, smash! That beast.
Yeah. The other thing as well, I think Cosmos actually take a kind of a neat loss from like for ceiling, because your ceiling's a lot lower when you don't have access to reasoning all the time, and you don't have access to the E-Telly necessarily as much. So sometimes you will be able to have like E-Telly plus reasoning plus tin can, but sometimes more often you're gonna be stuck with just the once on the turn.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but like I just see that hits specifically to Pendulum is more sort of dangerous and threatening.
It's a lot more. Also, like considering a lot more. Like there's a lot of it. Like Monarchs and Burn Abyss haven't taken any hits in this list. Other than maybe if you want to argue that both those decks kind of rely on the popularity of Pendulum decks due to having a lot of a better matchup against Pendulums than they do against Cosmos. But at the same time, they haven't had any direct hits. So
I think Monarch really should have had a hit though from this list. Like Pantheism is just a ridiculous card. But like even now they could even just.
I think Pantheism could have been that TK hit.
Yeah, sort of like. Well, I don't think, honestly, I don't like Monarch as a deck, and obviously the field spell is just stupidly annoying, but I don't think it sort of has done enough to warrant a big hit. I think it's just more sort of a thing that people complain about the FTK, obviously, and it's a deck that people generally dislike, that they feel it should have been hit, as opposed to deserving the hits. If you look over the last 3 or 4 YCS we've had, it's probably got 1 or 2 top 4s, if that. It certainly hasn't won anything big.
Tops. It got 2 tops at the first YCS. There's been another one since then, but another 1 or 2 maybe, I don't know, but since then, but it didn't get that many.
Like I say, yeah, it's sort of, it's, when it draws well, it's a good deck, but that deck's flaws are inherently in its mechanic, which will never change over the course of the game. That it's a tribute summon deck, and you can stop that tribute summon relatively simply with cards like Solomon, which is every deck's playing now, or even other stuff like Breakthrough Skill hitting an idea or an Aether or something like that. It's like massive, and the deck I don't think is fast enough to be consistent enough to have big hits. But something small like maybe a limited Pantheism is probably arguably enough.
I've actually just looked up the number of YCS tops it's had, and I'm pretty sure the last one was Vegas, and Morris had 5 tops there, and that's the third amount and the highest amount. So
yeah, I know for that event actually, because I was researching that a lot. 3 of the 5 decks were Xyz Monarchs, which played Teleport and Reasoning to increase its ceiling and not rely on just floodgating your opponent. So I think that's sort of a side indirect hit to the better version of Monarchs. And now there's just going to be a lot more ignorant lists out there which try to win through the Field Spell or Majesty's Vanity-Sweetens.
It's also worth mentioning that Monarchs had such a high amount of representation because
budget, essentially.
Yeah, the budget, like £30 deck, it's pretty decent in terms if you're a budget player. And I think part of the reason why Konami didn't hit the deck is actually because it's so budget, because they don't want to freeze budget players out of the game. Like even people who can't, there's some people might not even believe this, but probably some people won't even be able to buy decks out of Premium Gold. So
yeah.
So this is really beginner level stuff. So I think Monarchs are really good for that, and also Monarchs are really good for players who just come back into the game from people who've been out of the game for maybe 9 or 10 years. There's people, they'll see that, they'll remember Monarchs, and they'll probably get back into the game based off that because they'll see it and it's something they'll remember. It's nostalgic. So from Konami's point of view, keeping Monarchs around is actually a pretty decent move.
Yeah, it's sort of not happy for the player base. And the completely irrelevant thing that someone told you a while ago was that Monarchs don't stick true to the core they don't play any of the original Monarchs like Caius or Ryza that you originally seen, and that was the reason why the deck should be banned.
yeah, people always say stupid things.
Shout out to Zodiac.
So just speaking about Monarchs, just the game I'm watching on DNWell, we've got this discussion going. The Monarch player just lost to Burning Abyss by deck out.
Yeah, that's why
I really wish I was playing. I genuinely wish I was.
That's why you should play 3 Prime Kids.
He tried. He just had. I just don't know.
I was an advocate for 3 Prime because I still think the Emerald effect's really good in Yu-Gi-Oh. It's so underappreciated. But anyways, we're not talking about Monarchs.
Opening the deck.
Should we go to the? Well, there's 4 cards unlimited now at 3. We'll just go over.
Actually, I'd like to point out before you go into details that these cards, some of them I've actually so hyped for. It's just crazy the combos have come up with already. The list's been up for 6 hours.
Well, we'll ignore the best one for now and just give you the 3 shit ones. Tragodia at 3, which should happen anyway. Advanced Ritual at 3, which I don't think is going to do anything. Crush card at 3, and it's terrible. It literally went from limited to 3.
It's only good because it hits Aether. That's the only card in the meta that I was thinking. It hits Murmil as well, which is quite powerful. But if they have an established Neptune anyways, then it's not enough.
Exactly.
I don't think I'd ever flip Crush card against Monarchs because of the Erebus's great effect.
Yeah, exactly, because this can send Erebus from deck, so it's
So the only time I'd actually consider it is maybe if they've got 2 cards in hand and know that at least one of them's an Aether, but at the same time, I would never flip against them just turn 1 because giving them access to whatever Monarch monster they want, because they can send anything to grave, including 1 Erebus, and then they can discard using Erebus's effect and then get any monster from their grave to their hand. You're basically giving them the rotor that they don't have.
it's sort of increasing that consistency for you. So I think Crush Card's like the only thing it's really good is in Virus Beer, which is, as far as I'm aware, one person on the entire planet has actually played that deck successfully.
I think maybe if the meta game was different, but as it is, you just can't play the deck. You just can't play that card. It's just unplayable.
Trying to find a good game for it to put on for the last few minutes, but it's just not happening. It's all Monarch and BA. There we go.
That's all the end is, anyways.
We've got a masked hero. Oh, we've got Evil Swarm versus Hero. There we go. Okay, so the last unlimited card, which we're all quite hyped for, is D-Mark with its Errata.
Well, so first of all, we'll just go over the Errata, which is essentially when D-Mark is special summoned, instead of adding a spell to your hand, you have to wait till the end phase to get that spell card.
Yeah.
So it's much slower in the sense that you can't just go like Reasoning, summon D-Mark, also Reason's limited shoutouts, add back a card and just go off like that. Yeah. But the card still has the powerful effect of banishing destroyed monsters, which in this meta game is ridiculously important. Yet Beatrice, Dante's,
Cosmos.
Cosmo shapes, 8th Erebus, actually Erebus more than 8th air. But so the card has a lot of. You can crash though, so same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of relevance to the meta is that a lot of decks are relying on spell cards right now, so whilst it's very, very slow, it's still able to help win games. And like we were talking about before, playing it in Cosmo or Escape from Dark Dimension, just stupid stuff like that. But being able to grab back the teleport or something, how important that is to further a play if you're using teleport twice, or if you're getting something like a sword charge back, something retarded like that. There's just so many like different stupid things that card promotes. Although it might be a little bit slow, you can like if you do it in your opponent's turn specifically, like it makes your next play is massive.
Yeah, that's what
I
we were saying.
I think a big thing about it is that you can play it with. Well, not even that you can play it with, but it kind of pushes the new Dark Magician support, which is just 2 sets away now.
Yeah, well, Chain Victories is late next month.
Yeah, so, well, I think Konami probably looking forward to that deck and thinking want something up there, something to give that deck something, because looking at it now, they could hit all of the meta decks, and that deck would still be completely unplayable. So, and since that's supposed to be the Dark Illusions like big push. Yeah, it's basically the push archetype for that set. They're gonna want something big, So I think Dark Magician of Chaos being searchable in that deck is alright, I guess.
I think it's another fan favourite that should definitely have came back, sort of.
Yeah.
With the rise of pendulums, there's a lot less spell card decks. No, it wouldn't be played in missing because of the destruction effects, but a lot of decks seem to be leaning more away from certain spell cards, and slowing it down to the end phase makes it really fair. But I still think it's just really, really good as a card. +1s and everything. Next top tip for today can be pick up D-Marks.
The only thing about D-Mark is that I'm pretty sure it has to stay on the field until the end of the turn to activate now.
I believe so.
I think that's a big downside. So you can't really sort of do something along the lines of, because if it was just like when it's summoned, activate the effect, and then at the end of the turn, it would be a lot better because you'd be able to use it as Xyz material and still get the effect in the end phase.
No, don't.
But since it's
D-Mark doesn't have to stay on the field.
It does actually. It's during the end phase if this card was normal special summon this turn.
Oh, so it's like a SCOM style thing.
Yeah.
Does it not just have to recognise that it was summoned? Am I just being stupid?
It actually, that's what it is really. To be fair, the wording is kind of a little bit obtuse, and I think some people probably miss this actually, because it like SCORM. Some people will be like, well, it was sent to the graveyard this turn, so why can't I activate it if it was banished from the graveyard? And it's kind of the same sort of wording as SCORM. It has to stay where it was.
Oh, alright, yeah. Relating to SCORM, that makes sense. There we go. This is now a ruling video as well.
Anyone who's actually watched the video to this far, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, comment below any stupid DMARC combos you can come up with. Because with stuff like left arm offering the new Pot of Greed spell card, there's going to be a lot of stupid shit that comes up.
It is good. The only available version of the errata DMARC is Yugioh's Legendary Decks. There's another ultra around there. So if anyone wants to pick them up.
Is it bad that I want to buy? I should just buy 3 of those.
Free advertising as well.
I really should buy like 3 of those like Italian.
Yeah.
So is that everything we want to say about the list? Anything? Any shouts?
Overall, I think generally it's an excellent step in the right direction. Sort of keeping away from pendulums for a little while. Whereas I think the pendulum are obviously they're pushing that sort of playstyle forward, so that's going to come back. But everyone gets a bit of a break of that. Blue eye stuff's going to come out, and I don't think there's any blue eye stuff that's really on this list, is there? Like pre-hits for that or anything?
No, I don't think so.
So that has a sort of immediate effect in that deck is playable as long as we get Alternative Dragon and other stuff from Shining Victories, the Lunar Light crap like that can be played. So it's sort of helping to make it a bit more, what's the word, like diverse. Obviously the best deck's still going to be the best decks. That happens every format, you can't change that. You just change what the deck is, but it makes it so more decks can compete. And like I say, even the slight hits to Cosmos ceiling and the fact that Monarch's slightly slowed down and less consistent, it makes other decks more viable for something like a regional. So we're probably going to see a stupid Destiny Hero deck top somewhere. Black Wings always gets one top of format, and then the rest will just be the same general stuff. Shout out to Dylan Charles for picking up Infernoid on Wednesday.
So I think one big thing that we're gonna
you
really
go.
want to. I think one big thing that you really want to think about as well is that with this list is actually created a situation where for the first time since 2011, the majority of the top decks aren't even extra deck focused.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like the 3 best decks are probably going to be Cosmo, Monarchs, and Burn Abyss.
Mimiel.
And only
Mimiel's.
only one of them actually uses the extra deck like the majority of games. So
with
interesting change.
So the X deck, just briefly, has gone back to what it was originally as a toolbox, not a win condition. As you look at Draco Pals, none of their main deck cards are good enough to win you a match. Whereas that totally without an X deck, Cosmo uses things like Pleiades and Infinity or like Break Swords. It can toolbox like that, and it's sort of, I think that's better for the game. Whereas you're using it as an additional resource rather than your main focus.
Yeah.
So, since UK NAT's also gone out today of recording this, it's the 3rd to 5th of June, which means Shining Victories will be legal. What's your pick to win? Considering Shining
Victories. If we get Alternative Dragon, I'm going to go with Blue Eyes just because I think it'll be a dark horse for that. If not, then I think it's going to go to Cosmo because that seems really favourable in Europe.
I'm really stuck because I was going to play Infernoids at that event.
Just pick what your deck you're going to play to win.
Yeah. I was going to play Infernoids. I don't think Burning Abyss can win after Floating Coast and Cherry Blossom comes out, so my pick's probably going to be Cosmo tentatively.
I would probably agree with the Cosmo because Shining Victories also has Cosmo support in it. We could get some Dark Planet could be broken. We do 4 monsters, I believe, so we never know. They could be really good, even though like Delta Shuttle and Eclipse weren't the greatest cards in the world.
My second pick would probably be some degenerate card demise deck. So
yeah, we do also have that to look forward to.
Yeah,
so that's was another thing of like the draw power going that we can't just like upstart, go through my deck of loads until I draw my traps, settle my traps card demise. Because that was going to be obviously be a legit thing. Because setting 5 repeatedly is going to be stupid.
Yeah, it's a big thing in the OSG. One of my friends who from Thailand's been messaging me about how good Cliff Watts are over there. So,
God,
that's going to be a thing possibly.
OCG is a broken game though. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
It's just one of those mega games where everything's so broken it's balanced. It's just Pokemon.
Right, so I think that'll do for today. Leave your thoughts on the ban list in the comments below. And we'll see you around.
Alright. In a bit, lads.